All right. Join the meeting. Let's go. Well. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again. Yes, it's me, Craig, your recovery specialist. Someone is waiting. Let me let this person in real fast. And yes, welcome, Bailey. Welcome. Welcome to our family meeting. I am hosting this tonight. And as always, we're going to share some information concerning family and the importance of why family members experience things that they do with loved ones that's being affected by addiction. And so let me give you the title. And this article is brought to you by soberrecovery.com. And so here it is. We're going to be talking about 5 feelings family members of addicts experience. This is a family support meeting. Yes, 5 feelings. We're just going to touch on just 5 feelings family members of addicts experience. All right. And so I'm going to be reading the introduction, and then we're going to get right into the 5 topics that we want to share and discuss. And so as the article goes on to say, according to a national study, an estimated 9.4% of the population has used an illicit drug within the past month. Okay? It says, today the issue of addiction and overdosing is unfortunately still on the rise. The sad result is that families and friends of drug and alcohol abusers have to pay an emotional toll. And that is a reality check. That is a real fact that most family members do suffer from the loved ones using or being abusers of alcohol and drugs. It says, in a separate study by Gallup, the majority of respondents said their family members' addiction had a negative impact on their own mental and emotional health because many addicts are skilled manipulators. This part right there. Many people that's addicted of addicts or those who are addicts or considered addicts or labeled as addicts are skilled manipulators. For one, I can attest to that because I know when I was in my state of drug use, I would oftentimes I would lie and say, I'm just smoking marijuana. In all actuality, I was using harsher drugs, or I may say, oh, I just only had a drink so that my loved one or my mom wasn't so alarmed or wasn't be so harsh on me. And so I would make up all these excuses. Oh, they just picking on me. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't steal this. They lying on me. In all actuality, I am the one who actually probably did steal something or probably did say something or my behavior did warrant someone to question my behavior. And so, yeah, manipulation is a very key component of addiction. Also, being cunning, baffling, or just talk about lying. And so, being cunning, sneaky, and just trying to wiggle our way through society because, by all actuality, using alcohol or drug is a mind altering substance. So a lot of times we have these behaviors or thoughts that can really distort how we view reality. And so what we may think is normal, in all actuality, being under the influence of alcohol and drugs, is really abnormal. It's really abnormal behavior. So I just want to pause when they talked about that most addicts are skilled manipulators. It makes it difficult, if not impossible, for family members and friends to cope with the situation. And so when I look back over my experience and my stuff that I took my mom through, I come from a single parent household. I come from a double parent household. And so I know all the things that I've done early on during my stage of addiction. A lot of times I used to come in the house smelling like marijuana and knowing that I just got through smoking marijuana and say, oh, I ain't been using, I don't smoke marijuana. Straight up line. All right. And so the article goes on and says their own lives frequently become an emotional turmoil laced with fear, resentment, anger, guilt, and shame. Now, the fear aspect, I can really relate to the fear aspect because a lot of times I would do stuff or I would come home late. My mother would be worried. And so most parents, not just well, I'm just only speaking on my experience, my family member, because I know a lot of times my mom would say, when I get locked up over something I've done, and she would say, well, at least I know where you are at night. I don't have to be up worrying that something happened to you. So, yeah, fear is one. Resentment, that's another one. That's another big one. But let's go on and see what the article talks about the 5 feelings family members of addicts experience. And that is number 1 is fear. They go to fear again. So it says fear is a natural response to living or interacting with an addictive spouse, child, or someone you care about. There is a constant fear that the abuser in such relationship will physically hurt themselves or others, or die from their substance abuse. Wow, that is major. And that's one of the reasons why we have this family meeting or support group, because a lot of times we like to hear from the other side, the parent or the child or the loved one, that what their experience was like loving on someone who is basically addicted to alcohol or drugs. And so because in order to find a solution or try to bring a healing process, we need to have the whole family joining together, because a lot of times that's where we first learn our principles, our values, our morals, our code of conduct from the household, from your parents. And so a lot of times that is so important that we touch on family. And so, yes, number 1 is fear. Article goes on to say there is a constant fear. All right, I just read that article. There is a constant fear that the abuser in such relationship will physically hurt themselves or others or die from their substance abuse. This fear creates a feeling of powerlessness for friends and family. Parents lie. Parents lie sleepless at night, waiting and praying for the child to come home at night. And I didn't even read that, but I read it from lived experience. So, and I know how my household was. And so a lot of times I would get into a lot of arguments with my mom, or she would be upset with me a lot of times because she would worry. She would worry a lot. And at the time I was, when I first started using, I'm going to share this a little bit. When I first started using it, I believe I was 12 years old. And so most people start later on. I started experimenting at 12. Yeah, first you start off drinking alcohol, just experimenting. And then, it went on to smoking marijuana and then other stuff. So yes, I started out real young. And so it really had a negative effect in my household at a very young age. So, yes. So let's go on and talk about this fear can also be paralyzed, preventing the much needed intervention the addict need to get him or her into treatment. Sometimes out of fear, friends and family convince themselves that interfering with the addiction will only further strain whatever level of their relationship with the addict. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know family members went through that aspect of uh, going along, getting along, going along just to get along aspect because they don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. So, yeah, so that's very interesting that family member will take that approach uh, because they love for their loved ones, basically. That's what it is. And so they don't know which way to turn. So a lot of times we, as recovery coaches, we always recommend that if they are someone that's out here watching that may need help, we always recommend to seek professional counseling, therapists, someone that they can interact and talk with that can really guide them along the path of healing, whether it be their child or a parent or just a sibling or a friend. So, yeah, always seek professional help. I always want to say that. The number two, let's talk about number two, and that is resentment. Resenting an addict behavior can be a result of friends and family not fully understanding the disease of addiction. Many non-addicts view substance abuse as a character flaw that easily correctable by sheer willpower. Unable to explain why their loved ones simply cannot do what they promised to do, they develop resentment towards the addict. Resentment also occurs when others end up having to make excuses for the addict and find that they always have to put their own needs aside to care for the other person. It also stems from long-held negative emotions that replay itself over and over within the family member's mind. Okay? Resentment. That is a big one right there. All right? And so, as the article says, a lot of times people don't really understand that alcohol and drug addiction is a disease, just like any other, most disease, not like any other, but like some disease. Just as if you would have someone who have to take medication for diabetes. Sometimes people with an addiction, sometimes because it is a disease, people will have to go on to some type of medication assisted treatment, some type of maintenance, whether it be methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, because they don't have the willpower to quit, because the craving triggers and the urges are so real. All right, let's go on to number three, and that is anger. All right, anger. It said anger naturally follows resentment and is always a destructive emotion. Those who interact with the addict become frustrated. They discover that no matter how hard they try, the addict does not see the damaging effects of their condition. Yeah, I believe that is so true, especially for me. I didn't really understand the hurt because I just wanted what I wanted when I wanted, and so I didn't have the what I want to say. I didn't really understand the effect that I have caused, not only in my household but outside my household. You know, it took over who I really were and who I was actually raised to be. And so I became someone outside of myself until I began to get help by going to a therapeutic community where I learned some tools. I gathered some tools. I learned some methods. I learned some behavior techniques that I can use to better myself and be a better person, not only within my household, but outside in the community. So that is something I wish for all of us who struggle with substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or drugs. All right, and it says, this discovery that no matter how hard they try, the addict does not see the damaging effects of their condition, which in turn makes them angry. Family members lashes out at each other on the best way to handle the situation, causing heated arguments. And I said that earlier. Me and my mom, we have heated arguments and discourse. There is a feeling of loss of control that expresses itself as anger. When people, family members don't know what else to do, a lot of times we take out our frustration, our displeasure with one's behavior. We begin to, as the article say, lash out in anger. And so how to combat that in a healthy way, as I stated earlier, always seek some type of counseling where the family unit can come together and work on better ways to cope and live in harmony with one another without the resentment and anger and fear. But we want to talk on number 4. We're almost done here. And number 4 talks about guilt. It says, guilt takes place when a friend or family member believes that they are somehow responsible for the substance abuse. Wow, that is heavy. That is real. Now, that is something real because a lot of times people may say to themselves, where did I go wrong? You know, I try the best that I can. You know, I used to oftentimes hear my mom say, you know, I go to work, I provide food, you don't have to go out and do no wrong. You know, everything, you know, you have clothes, you don't have to do the things you did. And so I'm thinking back, she probably used to say to herself, where did I go wrong? And a lot of times, outside influences, that's why we say people, places, and things. A lot of times, if we listen to the noise that's going on outside of the household, or maybe inside the household, if it's not conducive to being a productive person, a lot of times we are drawn into a web of deception, and that can be through a whole host of entities. It can be through music, it can be through dance, it can be art form, it can be social media, it can be through language. And so a lot of times, me, myself, I want to be a part of the popularity contest where I want to be, you know, the person that was with the in crowd, so to speak. And in all actuality, I didn't always have to try to prove myself to be a part of the in crowd because I get this saying from a person I saw on a social media platform. It says, you know, a lot of times we fight to be part of the in crowd, but in all actuality, God created us to be on the out crowd. And so to stand out and be who we are, uniquely individual, you know, and so we are all created uniquely in our own right. And so we don't have to try to be something that we're not. Just continue to be who you are, and everything will work out. But as you're young, that's a developing process. I'm talking from a older, mature standpoint. But when you're young, a lot of times we have to continue to groom and train and work on our young people because there's so much that's pulling them at them, especially nowadays. And when I say nowadays, because things are more faster. And so therefore, we have to be more in tune with what's going on. All right. And so guilt, let's talk about guilt. It says they are so tormented with their guilt that they would do just about anything to make things right. These people believe that in the past they did or did not do something they directly caused the addictive behavior. The guilt manifests itself in a pattern of enabling behavior. This takes a variety of forms, such as lending money, providing housing, or working to assure the addict's comfort. They may find they focus exclusively on the addict and ignore their spouse, children, even their job in a vain attempt to help fix the situation. As a result, the entire family suffers. Okay? So when we step out our comfort zone or we step out our role as a parent, as a friend, as a sibling, a lot of times we may give in to people who really don't. We think we're doing them a favor by lending them money, giving them a place to live while they are in the behavior that they are in, and we are actually doing more harm. And so I am a recovery coach here. Most of the time, our duty here is basically to help people overcome a lot of barriers, and that can be addiction from alcohol or drugs, where we assist people here at Capital Recovery Center with detox and residential treatment and sober living, housing, employment. There's a whole host of services that, such as this one, a support group, and that's also important as well. So we are here in the attempt to save lives and save families. And the last one we want to talk about, and that is shame. We're talking about today 5 feelings family members of addicts experience. And the 5th one is shame. Shame is a powerful emotion that harms the entire family and prevents healing. In today's world, there's still a stigma attached to addiction. Family members compensate for their shame and feelings of failure by making excuses or trying to keep the addiction a secret. Wow. Being ashamed of a loved one's addiction sees many overcompensation with cuddling and caring. Rarely are the negative effects of addiction limited to just the addict. Every single person in an addict's family and circle of friends is affected in some way by the individual's substance abuse. Families dealing with addiction experience considerable stress. They never know what behavior to expect from the unpredictable addict. It is simply exhausting. The most successful treatment program for alcohol and drug abuse includes family, close, and friends, and a stable support system. Since addiction can destroy the entire family, addiction recovery needs to heal all involved and not just the addict. Let me read that last part of last sentence again. It says, since addiction can destroy the entire family, addiction recovery needs to be healed, all involved, all those who are involved, and not just the addict. And so just a recap, we touched on, we're talking about 5 feelings family members of addicts experience. And the first one we touched on was fear. The second one we touched on was resentment. The third one we discussed was anger. The 4th one is guilt. And the 5th one is shame. And so that is it for this week of our family meeting support group. Belly, I see you still on. Is there anything that you would like to add? Anything that you heard that you didn't like, or you want to share anything? Feel free. You can unmute yourself if you like. And so we're always glad to have you on. And so maybe you come back in the office and be a part of what we're doing as well. If not, we'll see you all next week. Until then, my name is Craig. Take care of yourself. So long.